At the outset, the idea was pretty straightforward. We want to join other cities in America in recognizing Dr. King, his legacy, his contributions to us. And we want to do it in a way that allows our African American community to help the rest of us reflect on the significance of the civil rights movement and what it meant for everybody. The goals were limited and were focused on some religious events, some choir events, some educational events, some small gatherings and speakers. But then the idea of the parade, the march, came up, and I think it was wise, building on the legacy of Dr. Calley's and the ideas from Araneta Pierce's commission, to have a march, but we had no idea what the scale of it would be.
The official holiday was 1986. That's when it began. And our mayor was invited to be a part of the celebration in Atlanta. But he says, as mayor, he sat there thinking, now that it's a holiday, let's see what we can do in San Antonio. Let's try to do something that is significant in San Antonio. I don't think even they could imagine the power they were unleashing. I came here in 1964, and I had been a school teacher, and one of my coworkers was Reverend Callis. So I had known him for a long time and knew of his interest in the community and his quiet power. One of the things that I admire most about Reverend Callis is that in all those 20 years, he was the faithful. He was the one who was carrying the banner. He was the one who was raising money to build a statue of Dr. King. He was the one who never lost not only faith in him, but he had such an extraordinary kind of faith in his legacy, the legacy of Dr. King, that he could not be deterred. He had the courage to pursue not only supporting the holiday, but just the day-to-day minutiae kind of commitment to Dr. King.
In terms of my father's vision, when we actually marched, we started back in the early 70s and 80s, and we didn't march necessarily for recognition of MLK. We marched because there were a lot of deficiencies on the east side that were not met. My dad would take a group of us from the community and we go to the city council and we petition for these things, and again they would tell us no, not now, or just wait. And when our voices weren't heard, well, then we took to the streets, then we marched, then we started bringing awareness to the things that weren't there. So we've been marching right at about 55 years as of right now. But again, the impact that it's made on the city is truly phenomenal. And if my dad was here today to see what he started, which wasn't his intent, he would be very, very well pleased. When the Martin Luther King statue was unveiled in 1982, there were 50,000 people. The city wasn't even involved yet, and so Mayor Henry Cisneros recognized the fact that Dad's gonna need some help.
The mayor then called a number of, about 100 people to the council room at that time and talked about what he would like to see happen in 1987. And so as we talked about what things we could do, they were talking about Rosa Parks and how she had started the initiative. I said, well, you know, she's still alive. We could invite her to come. They were like, sure. I said, you know, we can invite her to come. And so Blanquita said, well, I could talk to Via and we could resurrect one of the old buses and she could ride in the bus and we could invite other senior citizens to ride along with her at the beginning of the march. And we always had a garbage truck in the march because Martin Luther King, you know, had been killed, and that was his last effort in fighting for the garbage workers in Memphis, Tennessee.
During that time period when Dr. King was actually in Memphis, it was about a strike, about fairness, about employment, equal pay for the employees, during that time. We like to be up front and out front of these processes. As far as the march here in San Antonio, we placed that garbage truck up front, and it is amazing. We're always having those conversations with folks about, well, why would you put a garbage truck up front? So it gives you an opportunity to actually talk about the significance of that idea of all of us can be leaders in some sort. Very empowering to take part in the annual march.
I think what the original commission, Araneta Pierce and the team that surrounded her, and the early council members and others that supported it, the leaders that participated, what they did was set the stage, created the opportunity. This is the venue.
It showed me that when you have people of diversity in the room, people who are involved in the city structure, in different committees, organizations, communities, and you start talking, ideas get exchanged. You know, we'll talk to the policemen. They talked about the security. And of course, Officer Pinchback at that time played his role.
My initial involvement was put together a group of probably 15 to 20 officers, African-American officers, and told them what we were to embark upon, and we actually volunteered our time. We used our own vehicles on our own time to pick up many of the notable guests, including Rosa Parks and people like Dr. Shuttlesworth. Police officers are a part of the community. They are not apart from the community. So I think that any officer today who would participate in any kind of way, whether it's working on a corner or watching with the marchers like we often did, it's a sense of pride of something that large in a city this size that makes a difference.
San Antonio can continue to bring the biggest and best people to help our city be big and better. Let's think big, let's think help, let's think quality, let's think success.
It's great for your spirit to see everybody in this mood and in this mode of just simply to enjoy each other.
Our city is a place where we can live together, work together, worship together, do things together.
You should feel a sense of pride to be a part of such a significant event in the history of this city.
It always astounds me. It always surprises me. Why San Antonio and not Atlanta or Detroit or Washington or New York have the biggest Martin Luther King celebration? Why San Antonio? And I think it's because we've come on a path that Dr. King laid out. We know we have, and we appreciate it, and we're better for it.